Welcome to Codex, a history of video games. My name is Mike Coletta.
And my name is Tyler Osby.
And today we're doing a mailbag episode. I'm super excited.
Mailbag.
We got so many more emails. This is fantastic.
Yeah, we got a bunch of emails. This is great. So if you're here for some sort of history talk, you're going to get less of that this time. So, sorry about that.
We
but
do
not
have
really.
some pretty good, history of video games discussion questions, though. So if you're into the if you're into the part of the podcast where we go on tangents, boy, this is the episode.
This is just one big tangent.
Yeah, this is just one giant tangent. But we're going to try to do these every once in a while because, well, we do a lot of research and it gives us a break, to be honest. So, and also, it's a free podcast. So there you go. Okay. But I want to read, this is our newest email, but I'm reading it because it brings up a great thing that I didn't know about. And I kind of want to clear up as far as news of the podcast goes. This is from Kenny. And Kenny says, "Hey guys, I just heard on another podcast that you can see reviews from other countries in Apple Podcasts if you change the country code in the URL link. I think you have to be on desktop to do it. It doesn't appear there is a way to see all the reviews in one place, which is pretty stupid." And I agree, that is pretty stupid. Anyway, thought I would share since this seemed to be a revelation to a couple other shows. Love the Metroidvania episodes, by the way, Kenny. Thank you so much, Kenny, for the email.
Thanks,
and
Kenny.
Also for telling me, because it turns out we do have reviews from other countries that I have not been reading because I didn't know they existed, essentially.
From outside the U.S.?
Yeah, so essentially I was reading the reviews that are just pop up on my phone under Apple Podcasts on my phone, which is in the U.S., so those are the U.S. reviews we read. And it's we got some pretty funny ones as far as people being mean about us, which is great. We got a 3-star one from someone in Canada, and their name is Cancer Valley, so that's fun. And it says, "It's okay. Would be better if the one host would stop acting like an idiot." Which I love because I'm like, which one is it? Now we're both idiots.
Yeah, we are Schrodinger's idiot. We are both an idiot and not an idiot.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. But we also got one that actually made me think of a little discussion topic because it's a 5-star review. It's very kind. It's from Saz Cube. Okay, great show with fun history. Love the show. Like listening to you at work. Just one suggestion though. Please don't ever make another podcast with sound effects in it. That was rough potatoes, lol. P.S. would like to hear a show on game consoles that had problems with piracy, like Sega Dreamcast, and how they either fixed or didn't fix the problems. Thanks. And then their name. I don't want to read their name if they didn't tell me to. But yeah, that's actually really funny. Thank you for the review. That's very constructive feedback. And also, it reminds me of how I never released the real first episode of this podcast, which is just me and no Tyler, which we all know would have been a disaster. Yeah, it was the lost episode. That thing was chock full of sound effects. Let me tell you that much, because I didn't know what to do. And it was my first podcast, not with anyone else. I do another podcast with another friend of mine, but that we've been doing for years, but I never did one without a guest. And I didn't know what to do, so my answer was sound effects. And oh boy, it may never see the light of day. Let me tell you that much. Yeah, it's pretty rough. And it covers the first chapter of the Ultimate History of Video Games, which makes it even better. But then I found Tyler, and everything was better. So do not worry, except for the occasional air horn sound when it feels right.
And it'll just be me making the noise.
Yes, you'll probably never, or me accidentally saying a curse word and having to censor it, which has happened a couple times. But other than that, you will not hear any more sound effects. But thank you for the email, Saz Cube. By the way, these are all from 2019. That's how long ago it was, and I completely missed these. I feel bad. But yeah, so the TLDR of this whole idea here is what we're going to do from now on, I think, because we are getting reviews from other countries and I might not see them on my phone. If you really want us to read your review, send us an email with your review and I'll happily read it. Otherwise, because I can't just spend an hour Googling and typing in different country codes into URLs of iTunes to try to find. That's just too much time. And it's not even iTunes anymore. It's Apple Podcasts. See the new world we're living in. So essentially, I just want to throw that out there. If you want us to read your review, send us an email, codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com, and we'll read your review. Otherwise, we probably won't read it just because I am not constantly on podcast.apple.com/country code of your choice all the time. So, yeah. But I thought it was a very cool thing. I had no idea. So thank you so much, Kenny, for sending us that email.
Yeah, thanks.
You want to read another one? I'll let you just pick. You can just pick anyone you want. Yeah.
Well, I'll pick a relevant one to a recent episode from Matt in Japan here on the proper pronunciation of the planet in Super Metroid. We'll get there. Matt says, "Hey, Mike and Tyler. First, I'd like to clarify the official pronunciation of the planet Zebes. Going by the Japanese katakana name of Zebes, it should be pronounced as Ze, as in Zelda, Bess, or Beth. That's because there is no Z sound in Japanese. B is pronounced as Beg, and S ending can be romanized as an S or a th, like a TH sound. That's why in Final Fantasy VII, the character Aerith's name got mistranslated as Eris. Also, if you leave the title screen up on the original Metroid game, you'll see an emergency message from the Galaxy Federal Police that orders you to defeat the Metroid of the planet Zebeth. I originally interpreted this as the planet's full name was Zebeth and thought that Zebes was like the nickname or shorthand version of Zebeth. For the record, though, I used to call it Zebes as well and always thought Zebes sounded like a cooler name for the planet. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk." I agree with you, Matt, on Zebes definitely sounds way cooler than Zebes. But you know what? If it's not right, it's not right, you know? Matt goes on to say, "I'd also like to add that Super Metroid's non-linearity is especially apparent if you play with the fan-made randomizer version of the game. I've had multiple runs of the game where the first power-up I got was the screw attack instead of the morph ball, which would then require skillful use of wall jumps, screw attacking through normally bombable walls, and so on. This is also mentioned before your guys' Zelda podcast, but there's a cool mod where you can play through the Link to the Past randomizer and the Super Metroid randomizer in the same ROM, in which items and power-ups from both games are mixed together, and you switch games by entering through any of the predetermined doors in the world, such as the map room in Metroid or the fortune teller's house in Zelda."
That's really cool.
I wish I had more encyclopedic knowledge of both of those games, like the way I do for like something like Ocarina of Time, because I would love to play something like that where you just go back and forth between the two games, like getting items for the other game in one game. Like that sounds so fun.
That actually sounds like something that Nintendo should just make.
Yeah, it sort of sounds like the NES remix things that they had going on, where they were like kind of taking old games and like sort of doing weird stuff with them like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I've been playing a lot of Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and while Rabbids is Ubisoft, I think, right? Like, there's no reason they couldn't mash Mario with another Nintendo franchise just to make some sort of crazy different game, which I guess they do with like Mario Tennis and Mario Kart, sure. Yeah. But I'm thinking
Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games.
Yeah. Like, but I mean, something more story oriented, I guess, than like gimmicky sports thing, I suppose, is what I'm thinking about. But yeah.
Yeah. There's more. Matt says, "Super Metroid is also my favorite speedrun game, and I even got the 3-hour speedrun ending during a car trip from Tri-Cities to Seattle, where I played the Wii Virtual Console version of the game in my parents' minivan that had a built-in screen and DVD player in the backseat. That's impressive. That's about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive. So you just spent the whole time playing Super Metroid, and that's awesome."
That is awesome. Also, like, how do you deal with like stopping at the gas station, or like, did your parents just go in? Did you just never go to the bathroom? Is that what happened? I'm super confused here.
When you're speedrunning Super Metroid, there's no time.
I know, right? That's impressive. I mean, on a road trip like that, I have to like stop and stretch my legs out. You know, like, oh man.
Yeah. Last bit in his email, a common point of contention in Super Metroid speedruns is whether or not to save the animals during the final escape sequence of the game. It's completely optional and missable, but it only takes an extra 10 seconds to do so, and it adds nothing to the game or its ending. It's usually a donation goal during Games Done Quick events. I'd like to ask you guys if you're on team save the animals or team kill the animals. Matt, in Japan. Where do you stand?
Hard save. If it's only 10 seconds, you might as well save them, right? You know?
I'm big time save the animals. Unless that 10 seconds is what's going to cause you to win the speed run if you're like racing someone. Even then, I think you could be forgiven if you save the animals. You know, maybe they should give like a 10-second, like a credit if you save the animals, you know, so it doesn't slow you down.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that'd be cool if they gave you a credit for saving the animals. I think about like Sonic, where when you'd crush the robots, the little animals would pop out like they're trapped, but then you'd be like, I'm freeing them, and it would feel so good, you know?
Yeah.
I'm into it.
So thanks, Matt, for the correction on how to pronounce Planet Zebes, right? Yeah, Planet Zebes. And on the, maybe I should just play Super Metroid and Link to the Past like a bunch of times so that I can play this like mashup ROM, because that sounds like a lot of fun. Or maybe if you do it without knowledge of both of those games, can you still do it?
You probably could, and you could just use the internet.
Life hard, or?
You could use the internet to be your guide if you get stuck.
Yeah.
You're not.
So maybe I'll just try it.
Yeah, there's no shame in like looking it up, I think.
That's true. I agree.
All right, so we got a lot of emails about Castlevania, and specifically the point of contention I brought up during my last episode with Castlevania. And so I wanted to read some other stuff, like some stuff about Castlevania first, and we'll get to that stuff in a second. But this is actually from Discord. Old Man Ryan said, "I can assure you Castlevania Legends sold at least one copy." I remember conning my mom in 1996 to get me that game. I grew up with a super fanboy of the Castlevania fans, so much she ended up making a career out of spin-off games and doing music for them, which is really interesting. And he was talking about that game and how it was a must-buy. So someone we know did buy Castlevania Legends, because I did ask that question on the podcast. So thank you, Old Man Ryan, for describing that to us. But we did get 2 emails about Castlevania, and I'm going to read the first one from Tanner here. Tanner says, "Hello, Tyke and Myler." That's fine. Okay.
Got him.
Actually, this is Dark Paul from Tempe, Arizona. Been a while since I last emailed y'all, and I hope all is well. I was happy to hear the political discussion, that's in quotes, on last week's episode. Although I agree with Mike, it's more of a basic human right thing. I think it's important to talk about these things, as many of us who went to college after being taught American history in high school can attest to. Also, I should mention, not in Dark Paul's email, essentially, we talked about in the Castlevania episode how there was an interview with why Castlevania Legends was essentially taken out of the canon, and there was some really messed up things said about female protagonists in video games that are completely ridiculous, and I've heard a lot of people say, and so it's just not okay. And I figured I had to read it because it was an interview and it was a part of history, and it is something that still goes on. I think it's gotten a lot better, obviously, with female protagonists in video games, but there's still that weird stigma there. And so that's what we're discussing. If you want to know more, you can go back, and I guess I'm reading these emails assuming that you read or listened to the last episode on Castlevania. If you haven't, this might seem confusing, but podcast is free. You can always go back and listen to that and then turn this back on again. Okay, so I have been a gamer almost all my life. This is Dark Paul again. I own 9 consoles in my house right now, and I've put in countless hours into games. However, I'm unfortunately constantly disappointed with the boys club-like video game community. Nothing was a more polarizing moment of this as when The Last of Us Part 2 came out. Seeing all the hatred and backlash just because the representation of female characters, different body types, and of course trans characters in the game. I saw many fellow gamers say it was a political move and unrealistic to real life. However, I personally am surrounded by a lot of queer people in my community, and I know for a lot of people, being able to see representation like that means so much. Gay people play games, lol. Just as anyone outside of pretty much a straight man has had to put themselves in the shoes of others in games. It's not that hard to play a game where the main character doesn't look just like you. It means the world when they do to groups that lack representation in the medium. I 100% agree with you, Dark Paul, because it is true. It also is good to see things from a different perspective. That's my favorite part about video games. And really TV shows or movies or media in general is you get someone else's perspective on what's going on. And you need that in video games just as much as you need that in novels or TV shows. It's very important. So I'm glad you said that. All right. Dark Paul keeps going on saying...
Also, talking about realism in the game when it's it's not realistic to real life. Well, it's also not realistic to real life? Fungus zombies coming back and eating everybody. Why is this the line you want to stand on? You know?
It's a very bizarre hill to die on. It's super strange. And I have never understood it. And I personally, because I am the world's worst gamer of all time, have not played any of the Last of Us games, because as everyone knows here, I don't own a PlayStation, but they're really good. I know. And I was reading about the backlash, and I was just this is, again, people just getting mad over nothing. It's a good game. Everyone liked it, I thought. Most people that played it said it was good. So
yeah, I mean, and it's okay to not like the game too. Some people didn't enjoy it, and that's fine too. But
I think it's why you don't like the game is important. If you don't like it because you're just third person shooters are not for me. Hey, I get it. But if you're I can't handle being a female character, then you got some things you need to look into personally that is stopping that. So, all right. Okay, Dark Paul goes on to say, all right, I'm stepping down from my soapbox, but I also have been loving the topics lately on the podcast. Metroid Prime, so now we're talking about Metroid, has been one of my favorite games for many years until a couple of years ago when Persona 5 came out and it knocked it out of the park. Tyler, you love Persona 5.
Oh my gosh. I love Metroid Prime and Persona 5.
Oh man, did you just become best friends with Dark Paul? Am I gonna have to fight
became best
him?
friends with Dark Paul.
Am I gonna have to fight Dark Paul for your affection?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm currently on my first New Game Plus playthrough of Persona 5 right now, as I had originally put around 300 hours into my first playthrough. Those games are long, right?
They are. That's a long time to put into a single playthrough. Like mine was about 100 hours, and I did a lot of side stuff, but yeah, I mean, I guess if you get really deep into the Persona Fusion stuff, which I never really get into, I guess you could put a lot of time into it.
What is Persona Fusion?
It's like Pokemon breeding, but they're demons. Is like kind of the top level like TLDR on how it works.
I love video game discussions. It's like Pokemon breeding, but they're demons. Oh, okay, that clears it up. Okay, Dark Paul goes on to say, mostly because I had to restart a few times and really took my time. That's okay. I think taking your time in video games is a great idea. One thing that's interesting to me is that Persona was a game that replaying felt just as fun as the first time, and not every game can do that. Have either of you had any games in your life where maybe not necessarily right after beating it, you want to replay it, but every time you play through it, it feels just as fun, as exciting as the first time? Oh, that's a very good question. And I have an answer
as the first
immediately off the top of my head. I know exactly. The first Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, because when you beat the game, like I think I beat it with every character and got golds on every character, and I was immediately like wiped my memory card and started playing it again. I loved it so much.
Tony Hawk 2 is fantastic. That's like my Tony Hawk.
And
this
was Tony Hawk 1 for me because I never had to, and I'm just like, gosh, it's so fun. So,
do you have the remakes, the 1 and 2?
I did, and I beat all those, and the magic wasn't there as much anymore. Like I beat the game, and I felt really good about it. But I'm again like, I was talking to. Well, we'll talk about this later, but I've been having some very big philosophical conundrums about feeling like video games are work for me right now and not relaxation, because I have so many games I want to play, and I feel like I need to beat them. When in reality, it's like, no, just play what you want to play and walk away. Yeah. We talk about this all the time on this podcast, but you know, hey, if you were making a drinking game out of this podcast, every time Mike has a philosophical conundrum about playing a game he doesn't want to keep playing, that you'd have some problems. Okay.
We've got an email talking about that too.
We do?
We'll talk about too.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so sorry. To finish Dark Paul's email, they want to say, thanks for always being focused and willing to communicate with the fans and community around the podcast. You guys do awesome work, and I always get excited to see the latest episode. Thank you so much. I don't know. It's weird. So it's Tanner, but it's Dark Paul is their screen name, I guess. So
okay.
Yeah. So also I forgot. It says, P.S. I'll also be attaching my setup lately. It might seem acutely relevant to what you all been talking about too, and it's a picture of a Game Boy Advance SP with Metroid, the original Metroid for Game Boy, and then Metroid Fusion.
Mm-hmm. Or Metroid 2.
Metroid 2.
And then Metroid Fusion, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because Metroid for Game Boy is Metroid 2. We discussed this on the podcast. I should remember. This is my podcast.
Yeah, it's hard to see on the label there, but the 2 is behind the...
Oh, it is.
The way the label is laid out, it really just looks like it's Metroid for Game Boy.
Yeah, that looks like
2.
It looks like just like a red blob behind Metroid. Yep. I love the old Game Boy cartridge art. Like, it's so good. Like, it's just a little sticker, but it's so cool. All right. Well, thank you so much, Tanner, for the email. Really dug it. Well,
on the subject of games that are as fun to play through multiple times, I think I have the same amount of fun every time I play through Star Fox 64, because I could just blast right through it. It's a game that you play through like the whole way, and then like after that you're trying for higher scores or a different route or something like that, because you can get like awards on the different levels. I love that game and have just as much fun every time I play through it. And it's also one that you play, like I said, you play through in a single sitting. So it's not like Ocarina of Time. I have a lot of fun when I play through it again, but I kind of peter out after a temple or two, because I played it so many times that I move on. But Star Fox, you play it and you're done. So that's probably my game.
Yeah, Star Fox. So fun. Did you ever play the Star Fox for SNES? I never really did.
I did, yeah. I had a neighbor who had it back in the day, and it was a fun like prototype of what the next Star Fox game would be, and it was like really cool to see 3D graphics on the Super Nintendo. But it's ultimately not a great game, and it runs at like 10 frames per second, and it's like really hard to play.
Oh yeah, kind of like I feel like the Mario Kart on SNES is also very hard to play.
Yeah, it's like it's a prototype of what would come on the 64 for that game too. Yeah, nice. Although I think Mario Kart is better than Star Fox, but they're both dwarfed by their Nintendo 64 counterparts.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you want to read another email? Which one do you want to read? We're kind of just doing
I'll
a random order
one
here.
from Burger Champ here because you were talking about game abandonment.
Oh, yeah.
Of like playing games you don't want to play. So this one's from Burger Champ. He says, "Hello, historians. It's Burger Champ back with another multi-part discussion question, maybe 2 parts. In the age of games that are constantly on deep discount, the risk in buying a game you've never heard of has all but vanished. What is your threshold for abandoning a game? Is there a set time investment, or is it a situational feeling? Is there a point of no return in which you will finish a game you're not enjoying? How likely are you to abandon a game you paid for versus a game you got free? Any specific game you remember abandoning and why? And just so you know, I claimed you both as Codex pendants on my taxes." Nice,
yes.
Codex pendants. That's
yes.
good. Good
Those
pun.
Those are the dad jokes we're all looking for. Okay,
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here. Yeah, so I have very strong feelings about this because I am actually going through this right now. Not with Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle because I love that, but I have been playing co-op Super Mario 3D World, and we hit a wall where the game doesn't feel like it was designed for 2 players anymore. Like, I don't know how far you've gotten in that game because you're playing it co-op too, right?
Yeah, we're on about the 3rd world, I think, now.
We
haven't played in a little while.
We hit World 8, and there's a level in it where you just run. Like, it has all these dash pads that just shoot you forward. And it's like you're guaranteed to leave the other player behind if the first one falls. You can't bubble. So it's essentially like you hit a dash pad, you go, one of us dies, myself or my girlfriend, and the other one keeps going, and then they die, and then we just restart the level. And we got in a loop of doing that over and over and over again because the whole bubble system won't let you bubble out of it, essentially. And I was getting so frustrated, like mad, like for a game that's not online based where someone else is being mean to me. I was extremely upset. And I'm realizing that, I mean, the answer was simple. We just skipped that level and moved on because it wasn't blocking our path. We just wanted to try to get all the 3 stars and everything. But I think if a game is starting to feel like work, that's when I abandon it. And I feel that way a lot when I play JRPGs, or I was playing Dark Souls earlier this year, and it felt like I was like working instead of actually playing a game. Like, it felt like I was just grinding my way through these levels, and that didn't really seem fun to me anymore. But that doesn't mean I'm going to abandon it forever. Like, I could see myself coming back later on.
Yeah.
I think the problem with game abandonment is you have to be okay with abandoning it and knowing that you can come back at any time, because that's really what it is. Like, as long as you're not renting it, which we don't do anymore, you know, unless you do like GameFly, but it's not like it's not like your Blockbuster's going to take it back in 7 days or whatever. So I abandon games all the time knowing that I can come back to it whenever I want, and if I don't, it's not a big deal anymore.
Yep.
So, but what about you?
Well, there's certainly no shortage of games to play, right? And so my threshold for abandoning a game has become lower at this point, because like when you're a kid and you get like one new game every 6 months or something, like you kind of are stuck with it, and so you figure out how to have fun with something that becomes not fun, and those are like all those games we have as kids who were like, this game was bad, but I loved it because you figured out how to have fun with it. But nowadays, because there's just so many games, especially if you're like a Game Pass subscriber, it's like, oh, this one's not fun, on to the next one. I do feel I generally, before I start playing a game, I kind of decide if this is a game I'm like gonna play, or if this is a game I'm just checking out real quick. And if I'm just checking it out real quick, I generally did not pay very much or anything at all for it. And And in that case, I'll play it for a little while. If I run into a wall and find it to be not fun for even a few minutes, I'll kind of assess the situation of like, well, if I can get past this, well, do I think it'll get more fun? And I'll just be like, well, that was okay, and I'll just like ditch it, right? For games that I've spent more money on, the threshold becomes a little bit higher. Like if I spent $60 on a brand new game, I'm probably going to try to see it through to the end. But if a game becomes actually unfun to where I sort of dread playing it and I would just rather play anything else, then I sort of, there comes a point in my brain where I'm just like, I make the decision of like, you know what, this game's not fun. I'm not enjoying it. And even though a lot of other people enjoyed it, I can't keep going with it. That's where I fell with things like Dark Souls or, I would say Jedi Fallen Order was the same, but that's part of Game Pass. So,
I should mention I am so quick to kick a Game Pass game to the curb if I don't like it.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's like minutes of me playing it. If I'm like, no, I just uninstall it immediately.
Yep. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say my internet's slow, so I will spend like an hour downloading a game, play it for 5 minutes, and then be like, nope, and just walk away.
Yeah, and if I come to a point where I haven't played the game in a few days and I'm like not stoked to try to fire it up again, I sort of just take that as a sign of like, well, maybe I mean, because I have all these other things. Like at the end of the day, I'm here to play games to have fun. I'm not here to. It's not like a book club where I need to read the book or like do something for school. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to push through it. So at the end of the day, if I'm not having fun, I won't play it. That said, there are times where you can run into walls where a piece of a game is not fun. If you get past that, you will find more fun on the other side of that. And so when those small things pop up, I try to be very conscientious of like, is this a speed bump of like just a section that I think is going to be not fun, that if I get past it, I will get to more fun and it'll end up being worth it? Or is this indicative of what the rest of the game is going to be like? And if so, I'm probably just going to put it down. That's what I did with Jedi Fallen Order. I beat a couple of bad guys and it was like kind of satisfying in that Dark Souls like style of beating a hard thing. But then when I started getting frustrated with the trash mobs and the bosses that were very difficult, I started to realize this is not just a bump for me to get over to continue having more fun. Like this is the game. And so if I'm not having fun with this, that's the game. So you better put it down if you're not having fun. And so that's why I ended up putting that game down eventually.
Yeah, I'm thinking about. So okay, let's go. I just want to make sure I go through all his questions. What is your threshold for abandoning a game? We answered that. Is there a set time investment or is it a situational feeling? I think it's a situational feeling.
Yeah, definitely.
Is there a point of no return in which you finish a game you're not enjoying? Yes. For me, I have done that multiple times. I'm still in the process of doing that with Borderlands 3 because I know how much I loved Borderlands 2 and I refuse to let it go. And I will play a level like once every 3 or 4 months and then stop playing it for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And that is a situation where the situational feeling is my friends don't play this game anymore. Like I bought that game to play with friends and they all stopped playing it because they all beat it before me and I got kind of left behind. Single tier. No. But that's so that's why I'm still playing. I'm playing Borderlands because I love Borderlands and I know I love it. But the reason I love it is gone, so now it feels like I'm working through it.
Yeah. I'll eventually, if I feel like I'm getting close to the end of a game, I'll likely push through it because moving the card on my Trello board is very satisfying.
Oh, that's the best thing in the world. It does. That's why it feels like work, I think. That Trello board was a gift and a curse in a way.
The Trello board is great because it does cause you to, it does make you make those decisions of like, am I done with this game? Like if I have a game in my playing section that I haven't touched in like 2 or 3 weeks, I go, well, I'm not really playing this game anymore. So either I need to play it so that it's this being in my playing section is not a lie, or I need to move it to like the on hold or the abandoned. I don't think I have an abandoned section, but maybe I should.
I should have.
Or I need to like
section.
make the call, right? And at that point, then it becomes like, all right, well, I've made the call. So it forces you to make those calls, which I don't know if you need to be forced or not, but I like it. And moving a game to the finished column is very satisfying.
Yeah, that's another reason I'm playing Borderlands 3 still. And also, like, I think about the times that you and we were on a co-op kick for months where we went through all the Gears of War games and then we were doing all the Halo games. And that was fun because we were dragging and dropping them over and it felt like no time at all. And it's just funny how if I didn't have you there to do that, there's no way I would have played through all the Gears of War games. There's absolutely no way. You know what I mean? It's just like it's funny how the situation changes when you get a friend involved to make it way easier. But how likely are you to abandon a game you paid for versus a game you got for free? Free, kick it to the curb in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
paid for,
get it out of here. I don't care.
Yeah, paid for. I mean, I'm still sticking with Super Mario 3D World because I paid $60 for it, and I beat Bowser's Fury, which was great. That game was super fun, and I think the agreement that Katie and I have come to is that I will go back later on and try to beat that level by myself and get the stars because we want to get all the stamps and stars. It's like a fun thing for us, and we're just gonna keep plowing through it because it's weird. This is like my gripe with Super Mario 3D World. I feel like they designed this game to have is it 4-player co-op you can even have?
I think so, yeah.
2 to 4-player co-op, and some of the levels are not at all conducive to that. Like, at all. Like, very, like, you need to solo this because it's so hard. You know, like,
wow.
it's really bizarre. I mean, I guess that's the game, though. And I also don't know why that worked, say, with the 2D Mario, where you could have 4-player co-op on the Wii. That seemed to work so well compared to this. I just don't get it. So yeah, I think we kind of covered it though, right? So yeah, I mean, I want to hear what other people's thoughts are though too. Sorry.
Yeah, on the just that quick like abandon a game paid versus free. My threshold for pushing through something is higher if I've paid for a game because I've made the conscious decision to like this is a game I'm going to put. Like I'm really giving this one a good chance. That said, I don't think just because you paid for a game, you should finish it because of reasons. Like if you're not having fun, you shouldn't throw away both money and time at it, right? Like just sort of take the L and lose the money if you're not having fun. That's what I think. But I am the threshold at which I will make that decision changes based on how much I paid for the game. I'm much more willing to give something the benefit of the doubt if I bought it for full price.
Yeah, and the one thing that I think I don't know if we touched on with the Trello boards that's great is it just does show you how many games you own and don't play. Like I try to add a game to the Trello board whenever I buy it just so I know it's there because I forget, especially now in a digital age. I just buy games all the time online because they're like, or especially on Steam because they're like $5. And then you just forget they exist and they're just sitting in your Steam library. And the Trello board really it will save you money. Like Luigi's Mansion went on sale. And I saw Luigi's Mansion 3 went on sale for the Super Mario Day on the 10th. And I was like, I got to think about it. And then I looked at my Trello board and I didn't end up buying it that day. And now I want to buy it. But the hesitation there saved me because of the Trello board. So if you find yourself buying too many games, start a Trello board is my advice, or list them in an Excel spreadsheet or however you want to do it, and you'll save money, which is nice. We're all trying to do that, right? Okay, thank you so much for the email, though, Burger Champ. Great email. Also, I'm glad you put us as Codex dependents. The next email. Do you want to read some hate mail?
Sure.
Oh, we got some hate mail, and this is crazy. This is some real hate mail, and it is from Simon Belmont. That's right.
Oh, boy.
This is a real email that Tyler and I received from... Can I read the email address? It has to be made up, right?
I mean, would they lie?
I mean, they wouldn't lie. It's the real Simon Belmont is the name of the email, so it has to be true.
Do you really think someone would just go on the internet and tell lies?
No, this has to be the real one. And it's important to note, it's definitely in a Comic Sans style font. So I'm going to read it like I feel like Simon Belmont's accent sounds like, if that's okay with everyone. You ready?
Okay, do it.
Dearest Tyler, what in the name of the Lord did you just deign to say about me, you little bespaller? I'll have you know, I graduated top of my class in vampire hunting at Van Helsing University. Oh, VHU. Very nice. And I've been involved in numerous vampire hunts on Dracula. And I have over 300 confirmed slayings. I am trained in garlic warfare, and I am the top staker in the entire order of the virtuous blood. You are nothing to me, but just another Metroid-loving wannabe. I will whip you out of this world with 2D precision, the likes of which has never been seen in all of Christendom. You think you can get away with trifling your fancy words on the great communication system? Think again, do-beater. As we speak, I am contacting my secret network of vampire hunters across Christendom, and your coffin is being located right now, so you better prepare yourself. Prepare for the storm, maggot. Oh, wow, that's good. The storm that wipes out the pathetic little thing you call your life. You'll be meeting our Lord soon, child. I can be anywhere, anytime, and I can kill you in over 700 ways, and that's just with my supple whip. Not only am I extensively trained in armed combat, but I have access to the entire arsenal of Konami's imagination, and I will use it to its full extent to wipe your miserable face off the continent. You little loiter sack. Oh, loiter sack. That's rough.
I don't even know what that is.
I don't know either, but it sounds mean. If only you could have been known what holy retribution your little, quote, clever comment was about to bring down upon you. Maybe you would have stayed your tongue, but you couldn't. You didn't. And now you're paying the silver price. I will bring righteous fury to bear all over you, and you will drown in it. Say your prayers, Scobbler Lotcher. God be with ye, Simon Belmont. I don't know who wrote this email, but I just want to tell you that I love you.
It's great. This is a so great email.
I love the idea of people sending us emails in the characters we talk about getting mad that we're talking about another game. That whole idea makes me very happy, and I want to say thank you to the Simon Belmont, the real Simon Belmont, for sending that to us. Do you feel like on edge a little, Tyler, after me reading that?
I feel very scared, and I'm looking out my windows at night. I'm locking my doors. I'm making sure that I don't let Simon Belmont in.
That's right. Gotta be careful. Well, we got multiple emails from our friend Mo. Okay, and I want to read them. I'm gonna read his hate mail first. Okay. I know we're just piling on the hate mail. If you can handle it, and then I have another email to read related to Castlevania. So this is from Mo. It's hate mail. You asked for it, in all caps. Here comes some hate mail. Things I hate about Codex History of Video Games. I hate when I finish the latest episode, because then I'm filled with sadness that there's no more Codex to listen to. I hate when Mike and Tyler make me laugh, because sometimes I'm drinking tea in my car on the way to work and I spill it over my work pants. Geez, thanks guys. I hate when Mike and Tyler talk about cool video games, because then I want to play them. I need to clone myself so I can play all of my backlog. Oh man, that's the dream right there. Mm-hmm. I hate Valve's Ricochet because that game is trash. Lol. Although we did have some good times playing that garbage together. There you have it. May 1,000 spider butts fall upon ye. Just kidding, of course. I can't hate you guys. Smiley face, hugs, Mo. Thank you, Mo.
Thanks, Mo.
For the anti-hate mail. Man, Ricochet really is garbage.
It really is a bad game. Yeah, not fun.
It's not fun. I feel like it could be good. It's got potential.
Yeah,
but it's just, it's definitely the black sheep of the Valve family for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to read Mo's question about pre-nostalgic era gaming?
Yeah. I think this is. I don't know if it's maybe it doesn't go along with. I was thinking that it kind of goes along with like what's your threshold to not play a game, but Here's Mo's email. Can you enjoy gaming from a pre-nostalgic era? Hey dudes, it's Mo. I was thinking a lot about nostalgia and how it factors into the retro games that I play. I grew up in the 90s with the NES and SNES dominating my early gaming experiences. I completely missed the Atari and ColecoVision era, so I have no nostalgia driving me to play those classics. Aside from simple curiosity as a modest video game history enthusiast, thanks to this podcast, I don't really have a desire to seriously sit down and play old Atari era video games, whereas I could play NES and SNES games all day and have a great time. How far back does your nostalgia go? Is there an era of games that doesn't really interest you? Barnacles, Patrick, Mo.
Oh my gosh, and did you talk about his signature block?
Oh yeah, he's got a signature block here that says Mo, honorary Spider Butts collector, John Glames Association. It's like very official looking.
It does look really good. We could make business cards.
Yeah.
I think I agree with Mo here actually, because I was gonna say like Duck Hunt NES was like where I really first got into video games, like as a small child. I remember that. And then I also remember like it was weird because the NES came out before I started playing video games, but I had an NES later on because of the power of the church like auction or whatever, you know. You ever do one of those, or like
Yeah.
silent auction at a church. They seemed in the 90s, they were just full of Nintendo Entertainment Systems. If you want to get one, time travel back there and go to a church silent auction because you will find an NES. But I played NES and I played SNES. I agree with Mo that I cannot go back and play old Atari games. And ColecoVision, like I think those are very cool and they look cool, but I just don't. I don't have that love for them in my heart like I do for SNES and NES and Sega Genesis. Like, it's really hard for me. And honestly, I would even say some NES games I just don't want to go back to.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree with Mo, like, fully that, like, there's lots of NES games and SNES games I could go back to and play and have a good time. Before that, you get to those Ataris and ColecoVisions, like, yeah, I feel exactly the same. Like, they're fun curiosities of like, oh, this is what games were like before then. But I can't get into them. I can't see myself like sitting down and like seriously playing, like going for the high score in like a Pong or something like that on the Atari. And the question that I wonder about that is that because I have nostalgia for the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and so that just carries me and I can play whatever? Are there people with nostalgia for that Atari era that can go back and play those games, even games that they don't have nostalgia for specifically? That's the other thing about NES and Super Nintendo is I can play games that I didn't have nostalgia for specifically and still have an okay time most of the time. I mean, if the game's good, right? But I wonder if there are people that have that same feeling for Atari games. And I also would like to ask like younger listeners, if you grew up with like your first console was Nintendo 64 or even a GameCube, PS2, that era, can you go back to games from before the era of games that made you a gamer? Like, are the SNES and NES games still fun to you? Because part of me thinks that the old Atari games, they're just so old that like the design of them is so rudimentary that that they just haven't aged well in a way that like NES and Super Nintendo had sort of refined the gameplay to be more fun than those older systems. But I can't really test that without asking somebody who grew up with a PS2 or a GameCube or an Xbox and be like, can you play a Super Nintendo game? Or do they feel the same way about it where they're just like, nah, it's a curiosity, but they're not fun. So sorry, I can't play them. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really good question to ask younger people for sure. I work in like education in high school age, and I always want to ask them. The problem is if you start talking about video games in a classroom setting, they just like all production stops in any way, shape, or form. Like everyone wants to like talk about it. But I've always wanted to ask like if they could play like a Sega Genesis and have a good time. You know, I really wonder if that's just because in my mind it's bonkers to think that no one would want to play a Sega Genesis. But you know,
yeah, like I think those games are still fun. But I mean, are there probably people that think Atari games are still fun too, in a way that I just can't?
Yeah, can't really fathom. But that's a great question. Hey, we got a question on the Discord like minutes ago. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no, Tyler?
Yes, big time. Big fan, pineapple on pizza. Might order a pizza tonight because it's Pi Day and Papa John's has a deal. We're not sponsored by Papa John's, but I got an email today, so maybe I'll order a pizza tonight.
I love how you say you got an email like Papa John sent you an email. Like,
yeah, Papa John himself sent me an email. He was like, hey, dude.
He cut me a deal.
Yeah.
I love that so much. I didn't know it was Pi Day. I might have to get a crustless pizza. I'm on a diet, everybody. It's hard out here. I think I understand pineapple on pizza. I understand the salty and the sweet and how they mix together to be really good. Not for me, but I am not against it because I understand it. Like it's like dipping a fry in a Frosty. You know, I fully understand. So
it's great.
I don't think there needs to be like an anti. Like, I don't think it needs to be yes or no. I think there's a middle ground there, and I'm in that middle ground. Same with, like, dogs versus cats. It's like, I love all fluffy animals. I'm fine with it, you know? It's totally okay.
Are there any toppings on pizza that you're just like, no, don't do that?
I tried.
You're offended by it. You don't like it, and you're offended by it.
I'm not a big fan of mushrooms. I don't like mushrooms that much, and I don't like olives. I am very anti-olive because I just never like the taste. Like I just get this aftertaste in my mouth that I just can't handle. And I know it's a thing that people love. I am not an olive person.
I do love black olives.
Did I just break apart the podcast on accident?
This is our final episode. No, I love, welcome to Codex History of Pizza Toppings. I do love olives though. There are good and bad black olives. Like there's a certain, I don't know if they're like different strains or whatever, but there are good ones and bad ones. And I think that the people that don't like black olives must have had their first experience be with the bad kind.
Yeah, I see. And I think as a kid, I always hated vegetables as a kid. Still getting used to it now as an adult man. But I never liked. It's like that. It's olives, the coconut shavings they would put on birthday cakes when you never asked for it. Not a fan.
No.
Like it's those little food things like that just drive me crazy. One time in college, we got anchovies on pizza to try it, and it just felt like I was eating a pizza covered in salt. Like it didn't even taste like fish. It just tasted like I was eating salt, and it was weird. So that I'm not a big fan of either, but hey, to each their own. Okay, back to video games. I just saw that on the Discord because I asked right before we started recording, hey, anyone have any questions? And then that popped up. So I thought we could do a little fun one. Okay. This is from Felix in Austria.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm super excited that we have a listener in Austria. This is really cool. So first of all, thank you for emailing, Felix. Here we go. Felix says, hi, greetings from Austria. You once mentioned that you would like to get mail from other countries, so I thought I'd include that info. Feel free to ask any questions about which games we got here or something. I probably can't answer them, but you can try. So also, I wanted to tell you that I really enjoy your podcast. I started listening to it in December of 2019. I think you were still at the first book. I think we were back in 2019. Haven't stopped listening since. I mainly enjoy how you interact with each other by just being super nice and never make dumb jokes at each other's expenses. We just make dumb jokes, really, but not at each other's expense. Plus, you don't scream around. It's just nice to learn new stuff about video games while listening to two good-natured guys. You also wanted to hear from someone who has played the first Game Boy Castlevania game. Well, I got this game when I was, say 11 years old. I think it was around that time. It's true, the game isn't particularly good, and your character moves very slowly. There are pixel-perfect jumps, or at least near pixel-perfect, from the first level onwards. Your standard whip, without any upgrades, is horribly short and weak. But the first level is still very beatable. I got through that a lot of times. The boss is pretty lame. He just appears on the right side of the screen and slowly walks towards you. There are two floating platforms at left and right of the screen, and you have to just jump from one up to the second higher one, and then you are on the high ground to jump over him. Aside from that, it's just hit him until he dies. As I said, he does nothing but move slowly towards you. You only get hit by touching him. Most often, I died in the second level, but I don't remember any details. Oh, this is classic. When I think of old video games and I can't remember, but I know I was frustrated. I guess it increased the challenge level too much. There was only one time where I beat that one, and then it made it to the end of the game. I was pretty surprised that it was over after just 4 levels. Really short game if you just don't die. Also, I appreciate that you spoke out against the stupid reason for completely erasing that third Game Boy Castlevania game from the canon and everything. The reasoning, you can't tell serious stories with women, or you can't put yourself in her place because you are a man, are dumb. And you were totally correct with feeling weirded out by it. It's a dumb reason, but it also feels like it gets slowly better. Anyway, thanks for the podcast, Felix. Thank you, Felix.
Thanks, Felix.
I totally have that. I could never beat Sonic 2. I got to the last boss every time I played Sonic 2 on Sega Genesis, and I don't remember what killed me. I think it was a boss battle. I don't remember the details. I just know he killed me, and I ran out of lives. Like, I would just burn lives at the boss over and over and over again and not beat it. But it's funny how you have those like games as you're a kid that you always were stuck on, or you thought it was impossible, but you don't remember why.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of one that I got legitimately stuck on back in the day.
Tyler's just so good at video games, he never got stuck.
Well, no,
So
there are certainly
first,
those games certainly exist. I'm just trying to dig into my memory.
I'm thinking the dam level from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game on NES was very hard as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched video of people beat it now, but I could not beat that as a kid or an adult. That's for sure.
Yeah, I had a Toy Story game for Super Nintendo that was pretty cool, but I could only get like 2 or 3 levels in before I just couldn't do it anymore.
There was a Toy Story game for Super Nintendo?
Yeah, it had really great graphics too. They did like the Donkey Kong thing where they like pre-rendered the graphics, maybe from the original Pixar models, but it was cool. It's like a fun platformer. But I only ever made it a couple levels.
Is that how old the first Toy Story movie is? Was it like 97?
95.
95? Wow, and they were doing computer-generated stuff back then. And it looks good, too.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up that well if you go back to it today. But it holds up better than maybe it should, but you can also definitely tell it's from 1995.
Is it like when I go play Mario Kart 64 thinking it looks amazing, and then I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
That's right.
Like, ooh, yeah.
Yikes.
Some of this lighting is not great, but was like obviously next level, like 2 or 3 generations ahead in 1995.
I mean, I'm glad. Thank you so much for Felix for sending us that email and giving us a detailed description of that game. Because I just couldn't find a lot of stuff on those Game Boy Castlevania games. So it's good that we have first person experience of people describing it. Because it was really hard doing research for that. That's why I was dependent on the Castlevania wiki on like fandom.com/Castlevania or whatever. Because that, and even that was like sparse with information. It had like the weapon listings and all that stuff, but I couldn't really find good descriptions of what the game was like. So thank you, Felix. We got one more email left, and it's also from Mo, and it's about war games. Do you want to read Mo's email about war games?
Sure. Mo says, "Hey dudes, it's Mo. In case you need more material for your mailbag episode, I wanted to dig back a few episodes to a question that was brought up about the ethics of playing war-themed video games. I'll try to keep this brief since it could easily turn into an endless philosophical rabbit hole. I think most of us would agree that war in general is a bad thing. People fighting and dying is a bummer. So the ethical high road would definitely be a world without violence, war, or killing. So why make war video games or tell war stories? The unfortunate reality of our world is that we do have international conflicts. War is sometimes inevitable. The US tried to stay out of World War II for as long as possible, but we were forced into the conflict when we were attacked. Also, World War II is often cited as a war that needed to be fought. Hitler was doing nasty stuff and the Allies joined forces to stop him. World War II soldiers are considered heroes, many giving their lives to stop a great evil. The warrior protector archetype has been a major theme throughout the history of storytelling. So many of our favorite superheroes use violence against the bad guys, but it's always to protect the good and the innocent, which I think is a crucial component for war games and war stories. Kids from ancient civilizations would, air quotes, play pretend war games as a natural way of imagining themselves as warrior heroes. Today, video games can be another medium for storytelling along with movies. It's not for everyone, but there's definitely an interest in experiencing the stories of these honorable warrior heroes that we venerate, whether based on true story in the modern war era or from a fictional region like Skyrim. Anyway, the ethics behind war video games can definitely get fuzzy, especially as war games become more and more realistic and current, but I just wanted to offer another perspective. Spider Butts, Mo.
That's a really good point, because it is true how I think those World War II games was the whole like World War II, I mean, as a kid, was branded as good versus evil 100%. And now that we've hit like the age of ambiguous conflict where it's like terrorism and all sorts of current event stuff like that, that your traditional good guys, bad guys thing is just completely gone, that it does feel very different and very real. And I think that is why this whole idea of war video games has changed to the point where it doesn't feel that same way of like, oh, a good guy getting a bad guy, superhero style. It's like, no, there's gray areas to everything.
Right. The good and bad guys become less well defined as we have more information, I guess, on what's going on in wars around the world. Like, I'm sure there are definitely stories from World War II where, maybe the Allies were the good guys, but there are probably like smaller stories where it's like they did some really messed up things in order to for the greater good or whatever, and it's like that's where it gets very gray.
Yeah,
I've been tough.
I've been pretty vocal about it on the Discord, but I'm really enjoying the videos that are by Errant Signal, ERRANT Signal, and Errant Signal does a video on Spec Ops: The Line that goes into a lot. That game's about games, but it's also about war. And if you are if you are interested on this topic and want to know more about it, I would watch that video because he brings up some really good points, and it's in a much more well organized, thought out way than I ever could, essentially. So if you're looking for some more to learn about that, I would watch that Errant Signal video on Spec Ops: The Line, or read some of the news of the upcoming game 6 Days in Fallujah and the controversy behind that, because we're not going to talk about that here, but it is also very relevant to this topic, and I encourage you, if you're interested in this, to go look that up. But that is the end of our emails. So Tyler, I want to do a what you've been playing real quick, and then we'll close it out.
Okay, well, what I've been playing this past week, mostly just a lot of Spider-Man Miles Morales. In fact, I stayed up too late last night. Well, not too late, but I stayed up a little bit late last night getting the Platinum Trophy on Spider-Man Miles Morales. So I've played through the whole game twice because I had to do it on New Game Plus, which I did in basically a single sitting yesterday on Saturday. That game is fantastic. I love it. The ending makes me tear up. It's
just awesome. And I'm very happy to have gotten the platinum
I need to
trophy on that.
I need to buy a PlayStation. Is it? I just need to buy. I should go find a PS4 so I can play like Spider-Man. I can play The Last of Us. I can play God of War. I can play Uncharted.
Yeah.
Like all these classics that I've just completely missed out on by Xbox. Essentially owning.
They're probably
Xbox.
not that expensive too now that PS5's out.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I wouldn't think so. I could probably even find like the same way you can probably find an Xbox One S for cheap now. I could probably find like a PlayStation that just doesn't have a disc drive or something in it. PS4. Yeah, I should look into it because I really need to play Spider-Man and especially Miles Morales. But that's PS5 only, right?
No, it's not. Miles Morales is also on PS4.
Oh, interesting.
There are no PS5 only games except for the Demon Souls remake.
Which is a remake of another game on PS3, right?
As far as I know, there might be by now some PS5 exclusives, but I know for like maybe until now that's the only actual exclusive. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I have been playing a lot of Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I'm almost done with it. I might actually try to burn through it and finish it today. Also, or at least later this week. And then also, I've been playing Super Mario 3D World. I've been really working on Switch games lately. And I'm playing Destiny again, but very casually. Like, so each week they have a new mini chapter in the seasonal story that's going on. And I play that. And I don't really grind that much. And I just say, oh, I'm good. And then I just stop playing. And it feels nice, actually.
Yeah.
Although I do want to get that pirate gun with you.
Yeah, I got to keep going on it. I have fired it up a few times and like it's fun to shoot things, but I'm less enchanted by the progression and the meta game around it. So shooting aliens is fun, and I don't have a problem doing that. But there isn't anything grabbing me right now, making me come back all the time.
I think you just got to get to power level 1220, and then we can get the pirate gun together.
Okay, yeah, maybe I should.
You can do that with all blues.
Oh, Oops All Blues.
Oops All Blues will do that for you.
This is a great on the topic of abandoning games. Like that's like, do I just push through the? I guess it's not unfun what I'm playing now. It's just there are better uses for my time.
Yeah, and I think it would be cool if there was a way we could play it. I mean, I could play the story with you. We could play it together. That's the fun part about Destiny is I can just jump in. I'm not getting anything, but I just like hanging out. So that makes it more fun.
Play games for fun?
I know, right? Get out of town. This is weird. You mean I can't move something over on my Trello board? I had a really depressing moment when I realized I can never move Destiny or Apex Legends or League of Legends or any of those games over on my Trello board. They just need to belong in their own separate column of games you can never technically beat.
I have a tag for those games that are just ongoing and they never get moved.
Today I learned
I'll move them back and forth between on hold because I stopped playing them. But
today I learned I'm going to make a column called Abandoned, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Am I going to drag The Witcher 3 into that column? Who knows?
Oof.
Who knows? I feel like I barely even started it. It's not even abandoning it versus I never even started it, really. Yeah, so I feel like this was fun. I like doing these mailbag episodes. If you enjoyed it, please let us know. If you didn't enjoy it, also let us know. Be nice, but also let us know. We wanted to kind of do this just to kind of give ourselves a little break between doing the research and stuff. So if people enjoy it, we'll keep doing it. And if we have enough emails, we'll keep doing it. We're not going to do it if we don't have enough emails because then it's just like going to be like a 10-minute episode. But we got a lot this week. So it was super fun. As always, you can email us at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. You can rate and review and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to. You can also just tell your friends about us. That would be awesome too. And I think that pretty much... Oh, wait, the Discord. We have a Discord. If you want to go to that, you can go to my Twitter page @mecoletta, and it's pinned to the top of my profile, or you can ask us for a link in the email, and I will send it to you. But it's really happening on there. A lot of food discussion lately. Really good food pictures and pet pictures and video game related stuff and non-video game related stuff. It's really fun. So, yeah. With that, I think that's everything. Tyler, do you want to say bye to everybody?
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.